Hello, everybody. This is Clint Macro and Jim Stoker with Firearms Owners Against Crime Institute for Legal, Legislative, and Educational Action. Today is a very important day, a very interesting day, and a lot of people are touting it as Suppressor Day. There's been some recent developments in the courts regarding the NFA. The National Firearms Act came about in the early 1900s as a result of the lawlessness that was happening with all the gangs during Prohibition. And it was for the public safety, they restricted a lot of items: short barrel rifles, shotguns, machine guns, suppressors, all kinds of things that are listed in the NFA. And the big, beautiful bill, when it came out, it basically took the money away from the tax stamp for suppressors specifically, and this court case has a lot to do with that. And a lot of people think that you can go out and buy a silencer today over the counter without registering it, and that's not necessarily the case, especially because of the way the federal court systems work. So I'm going to hand it over to my esteemed colleague Jim Stoker, and he's going to really clarify what we're talking about here.
Yeah, typical government, huh? You can't keep yourself safe. We're going to pass a law to take your rights away from you. We'll keep you safe. We'll do it. Yeah, that didn't work either. But regardless, that's where we sit right now. We have the NFA. So a lot of folks in Pennsylvania my phone's been blowing up today. I had to shut it off to do this. It's unbelievable how many folks are reaching out, legislators and customers of mine and folks we just know from the 2A community, asking what the impact is of this Fifth Circuit decision out of Texas that appears to remove the registration of suppressors, short barrel rifles, any other weapons, and short barrel shotguns. It doesn't apply here. And that's something the Pennsylvanians need to know right off the bat, right? That we are not part of the Fifth Circuit. The judge in the Fifth Circuit kept it a very narrow ruling. It applies to the plaintiffs in those cases. So Second Amendment Foundation, NRA, Citizens for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, Texas State Rifle Association, FPC, Firearms Policy Coalition, the American Suppressor Association. There's a bunch of organizations that do apply. Yeah. You know, they're part of that. So if you're a member of that, you'd think, oh, that's going to apply to me as well. The problem is it not necessarily will, because Pennsylvania has our own statute, Section 908, that refers to silencers and short barrel shotguns as prohibited offensive weapons. So those are automatically still under that restriction. And there are other things that tie these things up too. There's the Gun Control Act that requires background checks on all of these items. There's the interstate commerce regulations and provisions, sorry, they refer to them as, that still govern how these things move around the country. So there are a lot of regulations and statutes still in the way. So we're trying to warn our members, don't just go out and sell your buddy your silencer and assume that you don't have to do paperwork, or don't go, hand to hand your SBRs right now thinking that all these regulations went away. They did not. Pennsylvania courts are not bound by the decision from the Fifth Circuit. We are part of the Third Circuit. And that might be something that we take up. We've reached out to Dave Sunday at the Attorney General's office, trying to get clarification from his office. I'd expect them to say the exact same thing, though, that this doesn't apply in Pennsylvania, yet our courts are not bound to it. That's going to be their easy answer. So there's a lot to be done yet on this case, and there are other appeals. There's other circuit courts out there weighing similar cases that will eventually, I believe, push this to the Supreme Court for an ultimate decision.
Yeah, the devil's in the details, and we need to protect ourselves from criminals. That's why we arm ourselves, but we have to protect ourselves from the government, because if the criminals don't get you, the government will. So, yes, this is a wonderful, positive thing for the nation. However, it's not as awesome for us here in Pennsylvania right this moment. But, as we've seen, Jim, over the last 20, 30 years, incrementalism works, and this is just one thing that's going to chip away at that NFA to where it's chipping away at the NFA, but that's going to chip away and ultimately chip away at the restrictions here at the state level. It's just going to take some time and probably some court cases, probably.
Yeah, and you have to understand the movement behind this. You have all the big national organizations obviously weighing in, and they're all claiming victory, though it took all of them to get it done. But really the thing that made the big difference was we talk about the big, beautiful bill, right? Whenever they removed these items from the tax records, that's when the original Supreme Court ruling back in, 1927, became an issue. But there's so much of it out there. The government, maybe 1937. There's so much of it out there that has governed these things through the years that it really is a huge victory. Now we've been in contact. We've had state legislators here from both the Senate and the House, both prior to this and today, this morning, talking to me about, hey, what can we do? How can we rectify, the Pennsylvania statutes on this? There's a lot of work to be done, and we know the makeup of our General Assembly. That's not going to move forward. And if it did, the governor wouldn't sign it anyway. I have a hard time believing Josh Shapiro is going to say, "Oh yeah, yeah, go ahead, just spread these things around like water." I don't see that happening. So we believe as an organization, our best likely step forward is probably litigation to correct the statute here. That's something that we will be in conversation with our chief counsel, Joshua Prince, and Dylan Harris, his associate, about whether that's something we can move forward now or that's just something we need to look at lining up for the future. We will have that discussion. But for right now, as far as our members are concerned, we want to make sure everybody knows nothing has changed in Pennsylvania. Do not step outside of those guidelines or put yourself in peril that way.
Yes. Yeah. Be smart and be careful. And if you're not sure, get the advice that you need.
Yeah, we love to
So
say shall not be infringed, right? But we don't want to be doing it from the wrong side of the jail cell.
yeah,
You want to be
right.
hard to
I,
argue whenever you're locked up. We don't want to
I,
see anybody sitting there.
yeah, the last thing I'd like to say, Jim, is just it's just amazing to me. We're a state level organization and we stick to PA and that's kind of where our focus is. But I have to say, man, this is the first federal administration that I have witnessed in my lifetime that is actively taking that government restriction and getting rid of it and giving power back to the people. It's amazing. I was thinking about this earlier, and it's the first time maybe since post Civil War when they were trying to give the freed slaves the ability to arm and protect themselves. I think that's the last time the federal government was doing anything to give power back to the people. So it's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, good news. I mean, obviously, we'd like to see some other things done, and there have been some battles at the Department of Justice level, at the federal level, where should we do it, shouldn't we do it? And maybe we don't always agree with their ultimate decision, but this is definitely a positive step when you have the House and the Senate do something. And, but we need to make sure that that doesn't mislead people here in Pennsylvania. This election in November is probably the most critical election for gun rights in Pennsylvania during my lifetime.
Yeah.
If we lose the Senate here in Pennsylvania to the anti-gun party, we're in big trouble here, and it doesn't matter what the federal regulations are. They're going to come down with quite a bit of heavy-handed gun control if we don't maintain the Senate in at least status quo. I'd like to see it swing back pro-gun a little bit further. The House is anti-gun right now in the leadership, so we would love to see that change too. But if we can get people out there to vote, the gun owners and the hunters have got to get engaged, get involved in this process. I'm tired of hearing my vote doesn't count, or I don't want to get a hit for jury duty. They're all excuses for not getting out there and standing up for our God-given rights to defend our homes and our families. And it's very frustrating for us. We've preached this over and over again. Get like-minded folks out to the polls and get them voting. We will lose our rights here in Pennsylvania if something is not done this November to protect them.
If we lose the firewall in the Senate, we will turn into Virginia, Massachusetts, California. We'll turn into states just like that in a matter of months.
Yeah, and ask
So,
the folks in Massachusetts how hard it is to win it back, right? It's been, what,
right.
70 years for them?
Yep.
So yeah, we don't
So
want that here.
get registered, get your friends registered, get to the polls. If you can't make it to the polls, get an emergency ballot sent to you and get your vote counted.
Yep, and get on our website. We're
Yep.
updating our legislation nonstop. So 2apa.org, and thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Jim.